Craving the one and only Fong's Pizza? We thought so. Fong's Pizza in Cedar Rapids now delivers. Order direct delivery or curbside pickup from Fong's Pizza by calling 320-9992. All of your Fong's favorites and a Fong's spin on the classics, from their mega pepperoni to the Iowan and street taco. Delivery, takeout, carside to go. Call 320-9992. Fong's Pizza, Newbo District, downtown Cedar Rapids.
Iowans know a thing or two about a hard day's work. That's why we do things the right way at Barntown Brewing. Grain-to-glass beers brewed in-house. Scratch-made food, handcrafted with fresh, locally sourced ingredients. We work hard for the reward of watching our guests enjoy great food and beer. Barntown Brewing. West Des Moines, Waukee.
I am John Miller, along with Marc Morehouse. This is Hawkeye Podcast, recording this on the 22nd day of April, 2021, and just a few days on the heels of C.J. Fredrick, former Iowa guard C.J. Fredrick, announcing his intentions, and he is now in the transfer portal. Marc, which is something that we talked about back in the March 25th episode of this podcast, because we had seen some craziness on some message boards, and you said, oh, that makes the beat writers' butt cheeks pucker a little bit. And then I said, I don't think he's going to leave. But the one thing that makes me give pause is the whole COVID year we went into, and you're like, okay, now that makes sense. Anyway, then we let it die. But here it is. And I guess, oh, what it is.
Yeah, I think it's the timing is what probably strikes everybody wrong. I think Iowa fans understand the fact that C.J. Fredrick grew up in Kentucky. His uncle obviously played for Kentucky, and there's a fondness. Let's not pretend that was probably his dream growing up. And I don't know how it changes when you're playing for another school at another school.
Right.
But let's not kid ourselves. That was his dream. And Kentucky, that's a little taller basketball program than where Iowa is right now.
It is. I mean, CJ was part of a team that spent all but 2 or 3 weeks of the entire season ranked inside the top 10. Spent, I think, 11 weeks ranked inside the top 5. That's kind of Kentucky air. So yes. CJ has experienced that, did not experience a conference championship. Kentucky, I don't think, were they even in the tournament this year? I don't know.
No, I don't believe. No.
Yeah, but obviously it doesn't take Kentucky long to rebuild and reload. So yeah, he's from Kentucky-ish. I mean, he's right on the border with Ohio. Covington High School is literally, you can look across the river and see Cincinnati. But yeah, I mean, Kentucky. He was the Kentucky Gatorade Player of the Year, and Kentucky offering. And he had some other shows to walk on at Iowa because the relationship that his uncle Joe had with Fran McCaffrey when Joe was, I think, playing some ball at Notre Dame. Fran McCaffrey was the assistant coach there. Maybe I've got that wrong, but I know that Joe and Fran had a relationship. The family had such a good relationship and trust in Fran McCaffrey that CJ walked on at Iowa, and he wound up never having to pay any tuition because Iowa had a roster spot that opened up by the time he got there. But at any rate, to see it end like this under suspicious circumstances is certainly disappointing.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it. I mean, okay with Iowa getting pillaged. I know that that's a topic we'll get to, and that's something that probably has everybody, I imagine, at least it would be, a little bit on edge because, it's a program you don't think would be eaten like that, but it is. I mean, it can happen in the right circumstance. I think it's a good crime. I think the uncle talked into the end of the wire, and he's kind of on record saying help's on the way.
Early March.
Maybe don't say that, guy. Maybe don't say that. Mm-hmm. And I know, and so now, if he comes back and he starts finger pointing at Iowa, that is really going to get ugly. The kid's quote from signing day will keep showing up. The factors that you pointed out right there, choosing to walk on at Iowa in the moment, even though I think it was Christian Williams, John,
Yeah, I think you're
who
right.
left. And so I think, yeah, that's all there. And I think, Iowa fans wouldn't like it, but they would understand it. Don't come back at Iowa. But I say that, and if there is a real issue with how a player was treated, which would go against all the evidence we have with McCaffrey on the table, that a few years ago, the Rutgers coach, he got fired because of player mistreatment. Everybody saw the tape. There's no tape like that. At least you would think it would have shown up by now with McCaffrey after 11 or 12 years or whatever, Iowa, whatever it is. You have many, 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 many players who've come out and talked about their relationship with McCaffrey. There's just been no smoke on how player mistreatment with him. I mean, I think that's above all. He is a player's guy, and I think you've said that on this podcast.
I mean, and I went back and did some research. That's the conclusion I've left to. But what you're alluding to, Mark, is from Uncle Joe, who said in a Facebook post that
right.
What's that?
No, go ahead. You're right. Go ahead.
Uncle Joe had expressed in a Facebook post that he had been in communication with the Iowa staff when the rumor post about CJ to Kentucky came up, and he told Iowa staff how those started. And he also said he was in contact with the Iowa staff this winter expressing some concerns. So
now he's on the record and people are wondering.
Yeah, so we have concerns. We don't know exactly what those concerns would be. I would be shocked if it was any concerns of Fran losing his temper. That's just not how he is. My Occam's razor would be relative to CJ's plantar fasciitis and whether the family felt that Iowa should not have been playing CJ when they attempted to, or that they didn't play him enough. I don't know. My guess would be the former. But again, this is all guessing. But the uncle has laid a foundation that there were some concerns they had with how something with CJ in Iowa. The big, another big thing, Mark, is, the first rumors came out, the help is on the way post that the uncle tweeted that you referenced. That was posted in early March following a Kentucky loss to Mississippi State in early March when Iowa was still ranked in the top 10. Iowa winning 8 of their last 10 games. All this is going on, and you've got an uncle alluding to the fact that Kentucky couldn't hit the broadside of a barn this year for 3, and he says help is on the way. This is in early March, which makes one wonder, were the Fredricks planning an exodus in February and March?
So this is where we come at this at 2 different angles. You're an avowed Iowa basketball fan, and there's not a damn thing wrong with that. This is our podcast. We can be whatever we want to be.
That's right.
I'm more of a observer when it comes to basketball.
What's your degree in?
My degree is in English.
In journalism. You've been a journalist for 30 years.
Right.
When people ask me, John, tell me about being a journalist, I'm like, is there another John in here? Because I'm not one. You are one. I'm not one. So
that's how we look at it. That's how we look at it. And I want right now, I want to hear from Iowa fan John, because I think Iowa fan John might be super pissed. We might get some good radio out of this. I'm kidding. But I do think that there is some consternation's one word. I think piss offedness is probably the word I would use. And Kentucky, and don't take on social media, don't take the debate from Kentucky fan. Just tell them to F off and walk away.
Like Marc did.
That's what I did. I'm not going to sit here and talk about some crap, which I know I'm right about, with some anonymous Kentucky fan account.
That lady was pissed. She came running to me.
Please go to my manager. And he's going to tell you the same thing. And that's I am going to use this, John, because I like doing this and I like being out of newspapers. I like to, if somebody's going to be, if you're going to be an anonymous fan account from another team coming at me for something,
F off.
You are just going to get the F word right in your face. I'm sorry. That's how it's going to go down.
I love every second.
And that's I don't want to make a practice of that, but I'm not going to have that conversation, period.
No.
But Iowa fan, I definitely want to have that conversation. We live together and we've always lived together. So John, tell me, is the number one feeling coming out of this like, damn, we're on the menu, or 2, is it like, shit, that guy left us? I think the underlying thing is where Iowa is on the menu with this, and It takes a situation program opportunity like Kentucky, but there's also the one with Kansas and the other guy too. So
right,
Iowa's gettable.
Yeah, and that there's I gotta partition my brain off here because and I'm gonna open the box that's the fan. So the fan in me is pissed because of one reason. The 50-year-old John fan is different than the 35-year-old John fan or the 25-year-old John fan. 25-year-old John fans effing expletives, pissed off, you're dead to me, all this sort of stuff. I would have been on the Kentucky message boards just waging war. But 50-year-old John Iowa fans like, all right, I've got an 18-year-older myself, and it's within CJ's right to go wherever he wants to go and to be happy. And especially after this COVID year where all these kids were forced to be away from their parents so that they could get a basketball season in for my enjoyment. So I'm disappointed that he's leaving because I really like him. I really like his game and it would make Iowa better. So that's why I'm disappointed. But the part of me that's pissed, even at 50, is Iowa basketball has been my favorite brand of sport team, almost mine. Iowa basketball and Kansas City Royals. Those are my two favorite brands, and Iowa footballs are right there. But Iowa basketball, Ray, is where I was born, and I care a lot about them doing well. And I want them to be as good as possible, but mostly I don't want any crap to splatter back on Iowa basketball's collective shoes. And Uncle Joe is what I'm really pissed off about, and a little bit more CJ. I think Joe's being a douchebag. I think Joe is a guy that clearly has a low level of integrity. And I think CJ, unfortunately, is going to wear that a little bit too. And the reason why I say that is just last week, Fran McCaffrey had a teleconference or press conference. And he was talking about CJ, saying CJ's not going to require surgery. He's raring to get back out there. He's champing at the bit, I believe was what phrase Fran used. He probably used chomping at the bit that most people use incorrectly, which may be a malaprop. It's champing at the bit.
I'm champing. I'm 100% champing. It is champing.
Thank you. It's champing at the bit. Fran's not in the business of making himself look like a dummy. He wouldn't have said those things if he thought there was any shadow of doubt that CJ might not be back. Uncle Joe admitted that he spoke with the Iowa staff about rumors. Okay. And to me, that means Uncle Joe told them there's nothing to them. Otherwise, Fran wouldn't be talking in a press conference last week about CJ's future. So clearly, someone or someone's in the Fredrick camp lied. They lied. And I tweeted that. Some people, oh, that's pretty strong, John. Folks, don't be stupid. Somebody lied. Otherwise, Fran wouldn't have said last week what he said about CJ looking forward to next year with Iowa basketball. Wouldn't have happened unless Fran was going pure Machiavellian and saying that to force them to make them look bad. But I don't believe that's what Fran's about at all. All right. So, John, are you sure he lied? Let me tell you another reason why I'm sure that he lied, or someone lied from the Fredrick camp. Iowa basketball's press release, if you even want to call it that, on CJ Fredrick's departure was basically 2 sentences on a tweet. And I wrote in my story on Monday on HawkeyePodcast.com that was about as curt a reply as I've ever seen Iowa issue relative to someone transferring out of the program. Somebody sent me a text and said, John, are you sure about that? This kind of seems like what we've always done. And I proceeded to take screenshots of the last 8 or 9 players that transferred away from Iowa, including the aforementioned Christian Williams, who basically left Iowa on the eve of the first game of the season. And they played really without a point guard the whole season. Christian Williams wasn't a savior, but he really would have helped that team out. Okay.
Agreed.
That meant Jordan had to go play point guard, and it all worked out happily ever after. But there were quotes from Fran in that press release and a quote from the player in that press release, as well as the other 8, even Aaron Tucker, Cordell Pemsel, Isaiah Mosh, Jack Nungy, etc., etc., etc. They all were rather voluminous in comparison to the curt 2-sentence tweet. So that's another sign that Fran's pissed off. And I think the Fredricks did Fran dirty, which means they did the Iowa basketball program dirty, and that's why Fan John is pissed.
I like it. That's well thought out. Journalist me, I'd have to see some of the stuff.
Right.
I'd have to see the tweet. Somebody in the basketball office would have to leak it to me. Someone in the Iowa basketball office would have to say, here's what I know. You can write this. Don't attribute it to me, which is always my favorite thing to hear from people. I love that. And I would love to hear that now. Anybody, hey, want to get a hold of me on this, let me know. That's all well thought out. And I think the uncle just needs to shut up. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying, you know what, you already talked to the wire. So the FBI is already circling. Don't say anything more, because now it's going to be gaslighting. And then I will be pissed. And then I'll learn your name and I'll come after you.
Right.
Because then you're gaslighting, and then I'm really pissed off, because that technique we've seen in our country just kind of be an ominous sign of a bad thing. So let's just not even have that thought. I do agree the messaging between something changed. Something changed, because what you said about McCaffrey, he doesn't like to be stupid and press. The one thing, and I can't say I covered Iowa basketball, but I'll say this: you could tell he went to Penn. The guy's a smart dude.
He's really smart. He doesn't suffer foolishness.
No. And so those are signs. I mean, those are signs I was pissed. The short release, the nothing, the players unfollowing CJ.
Patrick saying what's done in the dark will come to the light in a tweet half of a day before the announcement's made. I mean, it's all there. I mean, if Ray Charles is here, he's like, well, open your freaking eyes.
This is the thing. Remember the line Marc Turgeon said to Juwan Howard at the end of that pretty contentious Maryland-Michigan game in the Big Ten tourney?
Don't talk to me.
Don't hang the banners. Don't hang the banners.
Geez.
And then so I think we're in the era of college basketball where it feels like there's just a small skin on keeping everything quiet as far as what happens underneath the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe something happens here. I was a compliance department subtweeting Kentucky.
Holy crap.
I would say that's an intern kind of feeling their oats a little bit too much. Or
I don't think that happened without.
Or
something.
Yeah, you got me to finish the or.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Or they're filling out a case.
I just stepped all the hell over you. I apologize.
No, that's okay, because I think if they were filling out a case, that they wouldn't have made that joke.
Made that straight. Well,
they would have made that statement / joke.
No,
I think if they were really doing it, they would be. They'd be sending it. It'd be sent. Because you could see him typing furiously, and who knows? Maybe that takes a little longer. Maybe Iowa does make a case here. I don't see it. I think what's done is done. I think I don't think you could right now, John. I think if you wanted to transfer in the NCAA and you were worried about the circumstances, now is the time to do it. Nobody's stopping you. You're gonna be able to go wherever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want, and get in, because the NCAA is done with trying to stop people from transferring. They're done having this stuff play out in court.
You're right. And another reason why I believe Fran is furious right now is because, and I am not being a homer here. If I didn't believe this, I wouldn't say it. I think Fran probably runs the cleanest basketball program, not just in the Big Ten, but one of the cleanest in all of Power 5. I really believe that. And I believe that when you operate at a level of integrity, we've all likely, except for those of you out there that don't have any integrity, which may be a couple of you, but not many, we've all in our lives experienced people disappointing us and letting us down because they behave in a way that we couldn't possibly imagine behaving, one that lacks integrity. We've all experienced things like that. And it feels not just a personal insult, but it feels like it's an insult to your soul, because you operate in the light, you operate in the open, you operate with honesty and integrity, and someone does you wrong like that, it really hurts. And sometimes it causes you to want to bounce back and bite back. I think Fran runs a really, really, really clean program. And he has publicly said, Mark, that he will turn people in. And
He should.
You know, and that just reminds me of the
I'm waiting for him to do that.
But I don't know that he will. Okay, let's play that hype. Let's play that.
I know. Go ahead. I know where you're going, but
Put
go
the
ahead.
hypothetical out.
Yeah.
Fran turns in Kentucky. Okay.
Yep.
How does that look for future recruits?
Iowa Narcs.
Iowa's a narc. How did it look for Bruce Pearl and Tom Davis?
Finally, you said it. Bruce Pearl. It looked, and I've had this conversation with Ferentz a few times because we were both kind of like, okay, he recorded him cheating, and he's the bad guy. Mm-hmm. Now it played out to where Bruce Pearl, holy crap, skeleton closet city. Right. I mean, them bones would be rattling.
They are.
But at the time, and what he did in that moment, you know, it exposes the underbelly of which college basketball is probably a lot. And I'll be honest, I used to love the shit out of it. Now, you know, the cheating is taking a lot out of it for me. Kansas being on record, LSU coach. I think fans at this point, it's a crossroad for fans. I think as far
crossroad for fans, you say?
Yeah. I think as far as cheating goes, I think you got a tweet from a fan saying, you know, let's start getting a little dirty here. That's where the wins are. And I retweeted with a Tony Soprano gif. I think this is a kind of a crossroad for fans. Coaches need to be punished harshly for this stuff
because
tampering, or your fans are going to be pissed that your coach isn't cheating. So
we'll get there.
I think
it's dystopian. It's dystopian.
It's a crossroads for fans. Coaches get caught cheating, nothing happens. Why is my coach not cheating? That logic is going to start to pile up, and people are going. I think eventually it'll disgust enough fans to where NCAA basketball is really, really sort of in trouble. But it's going to take a long, long time. For that.
I think we may be closer there than you think, and
think so.
We'll talk about why here in a little bit.
I like that. I like that idea though. I like that idea though because you, as a fan, you see this and you're pissed and a lot of emotion. But what's really the baseline thing that you feel, and it's going to be helplessness. You're stuck, and this is going to happen, and you're going to get plucked, and yeah. But we'll talk about Filip Rebraca, and then if you're North Dakota, well, hey, Iowa got you.
Right. Well, that's true. And you've used this term. You used it in the pre-show, and you're using it now. And I think it's a really good term, and I hate it. It hurts. And it's Iowa is on the menu. And the menu is what's given to only a few certain people are allowed into this restaurant. Coach Cal's allowed in, Bill Self's allowed in, whomever the new coach at North Carolina is going to be allowed in, the blue bloods of the program. Mike Krzyzewski has his own personal booth back in the corner, and they pull up the menu and they say, oh, let's see who that star player that emerged out of nowhere, who was a 2-star that Fran McCaffrey recruited for 2 years that nobody else saw. Remember how, Iowa fans, you were so upset that Iowa lost Tyler Ulis at the 11th hour to Kentucky? This is the same thing, but this is the future of it. Kentucky didn't do any due diligence on Tyler Ulis. Fran McCaffrey was the first one there. McCaffrey has an unbelievable eye for talent. It's just that he coaches at a program that isn't a blue blood. But now it's going to become possibly worse. Maybe the only thing that keeps Keegan Murray from going to a blue blood this year is because he's a legacy at Iowa. Because this kid's an NBA player. This week, I think it was behind a paywall at ESPN in the 2022 mock draft, first round NBA, Keegan Murray's on the list. So Iowa, whenever Iowa has a breakout revelation as a freshman, we're going to need to stop.
I was going to say, hold the door. but no, yours is better.
We're going to need to stop calling them freshmen, and we're going to call them potential free agents, because that's where we are. And I had a buddy of mine text me last week. He's an Illinois fan, which I'm like, dude, what are you crying about? You guys get better talent. But he's like, John, if this keeps happening, if college basketball keeps going the way it's going, and he and I have actually spilt blood punching one another over fights that emanated from Iowa, Illinois. I moved to Illinois in 88. All right. I was there when Pearl was doing the wiretapping, and I literally have punched this guy, and he's punched me over fights watching Illinois, Iowa basketball games together. And he's like, if this keeps going the way that it's going, I don't think I'm going to watch basketball anymore. I'm like, come on, dude, come on. That's a bit too much. Then this week happens, and I'm like, yeah, if Iowa's on the menu, because he thinks Illinois is on the menu too.
Illinois is on the menu. Let's not kid ourselves.
And if
Wisconsin's on the menu.
Yeah. If we're on the menu, what's the effing point? At some point, it's gonna be like, to me, part of my fun is, okay, season's over, damn it. First thing I did this year, it's probably therapy. I write an article looking at the roster for the next year. I start projecting rosters out 2-3 years. Oh, man, wait till this happens. Wait till he's a junior. Wait till he's a sophomore. That shit, that's over.
Yep.
That's over. Those days are done. And I'm okay with things changing. I'm okay with the NIL, which is absolutely going to change things too. But this free transfer year, it's over. Now, Mark, Iowa's on the menu, but Iowa is Iowa program. It's big fish, little fish. It trickles down. How many February 2nd football commitments has Iowa gotten from you and I?
Oh gosh, I've written that story, John.
You've written. I know you have.
I talked to Mark Farley about it, and he just kind of he actually was really kind of like, yeah, sigh, kind of a short sigh, but it was like, yeah, we had that guy signed it in the office and blah blah blah, and then Iowa called, and he goes down all the stories and remembers them all like they were yesterday.
Like Kirk says, you remember the losses, but not the victory.
But he was very cool about it. He was like, you know what? That's where we are in the food chain.
Right.
For Iowa, for Iowa fans right now, that's new. Your asses weren't bit before.
No.
Now they are. Now there's a chunk out.
Don't like it. So,
but I'm thinking that when it happens to Ohio State, then shit will change.
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever Ohio State's upset in the Big Ten, well,
yeah,
then it's time for really to look at stuff. And I'm not making fun of Ohio State, but if this does happen to them, wow, where are we headed?
Right. So does that mean that Iowa's next fertile recruiting ground is North Dakota or Summit Leagues or Horizons? Now, Iowa did pick up a commitment today, being Thursday the 22nd, from Filip Rebraca. And I went and watched some highlights of him today, and I heard multiple announcers calling him Rebraca. So I think that's the phonetic way to pronounce it, or the correct way to pronounce it, rather. He is a 6'9" kid, 222 pounds. He's a 5. He is not a stretch 4. He was 15 of 40 from 3 last year. I think he took 9 threes his sophomore year, averaged around 17 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, playing in the Summit League, which is the same league that Oral Roberts, UMKC, UNO plays in. I think he had 23 and 6 in 36 minutes against Liam Robbins in Minnesota this year. He is a 5. He's a post player. All the highlights that I watched, he's got impeccable footwork, not Garza level, but nobody had Garza level probably since Kevin McHale. And he establishes post. He runs the 5 route on the fast break route. He posts up early. He does his work early, and he shot 58% from 2 last year, 51% this year. This guy's a legit player. Now, he has a body that's a little bit, about 15 pounds less muscle than Ethan Happ did for Wisconsin. And Happ was 6'10", 235. This guy's 6'9", 220. You know, he certainly is not your prototypical Big Ten body, but this is a different age of ball. I think he'll do really well for Iowa. And that's good. They really need a 5. He's not a stretch 4. He's not a 4. He's a 5. And they have a hole for that. But Mark, that that might be where, Iowa's new recruiting grounds are, is Summit League.
Summit League, MAC.
If you have a really good MAC player and he goes, I mean, is Iowa priced out of that market?
I don't think so. I think the transfer market, it's strange. And I think I can only work in generalities there. I would say it feels like whenever a fish hits the pond, there is a rush. There is a rush, and there's a feeding frenzy. And I think the Blue Bloods take what they want. Now, if we're going to make this a recruiting period, John, in my opinion, let's treat it like one, and let's say, okay, transfer recruiting season begins now. Now, of course, that doesn't mean there won't be tampering. I'm not naive. There's going to be tampering.
There has to be. It's
the way the thing's set up.
It's built into it.
Right. Nobody's going to leave unless they have a place to be. And I don't know what the mature.
It's not new.
I don't know what the mature way is to deal with it on that end, but know when transfer season starts. Know when we'll call it free agency right now, just for the hell of it. Know when free agency starts. Know when it ends, and learn how to recruit it.
Right.
A lot of front end stuff. Never throw away your phone numbers with kids. Iowa got the Coy Crunk. Tyler Barnes talked about this in, I don't know, winter of 2020. I think it was 2020. They got Coy Crunk. One of the last things Tyler Barnes said to him was, okay, it didn't work out. If you ever need us, here's our number. Doors always open. And he left it good. And I think that's probably the
really important.
You never lose those numbers. One. And then two, have a board, have a big board, have
really
three different tiers of guys. I use the name Colton Calamity in this, what I wrote about with this. Everybody wants Colton Calamity, but you know what? If he was in your camp and you had him like your C-level guy, and he goes off and wow, he loves it. Well, you kept the phone number. You said to him, "Hey, doors always open. We'd love to hear from you." And I did put in the fact that Colton Calamity was a Hawk fan, so there was that too. And so after a couple good years at I think I said Up North State.
Up North State, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't to beat North Dakota. It just kind of worked out that way. But Up North State, this guy develops, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, let's text Iowa." And then what do? You kind of go, "Yeah, hey, Colton, hey, good to hear from you. What's going on, buddy? Oh, hey, well, we got to hang up this phone right now," and blah, blah, blah. But there's got to be a mature way to do it. And I know that these coaches are so hyper competitive. They can't help themselves. And so I think right now, John, choppy waters in the portal recruiting, McCaffrey, how he approached it and how he expressed his thoughts on it. Don't do that. No, don't do that anymore. Be positive about it and pretend like you have a list, even if you don't.
Right. I mean, so I want to clarify one thing. Do I think Kentucky tampered? Here's how I think that works. And this has happened for a long time. John, how do you know? Because once upon a time, I was briefly in the middle of it. And this is a long, long time ago. And if you try guessing, you're just going to be shooting blanks. I had a family member of a player reach out to me and say, "Hey, do you think Iowa would have an interest in us transferring there?" And I said, "I don't know." And they said, "Do you think you could ask anybody?" And I said,
Brad Banks.
And I said, "All right, I'll say that you're into." And I sent I don't even think it was a text at that time. I think it was email. So this is before FOIAs even were a thing. And I know, and things went back and forth a couple times. And then I said, "You guys, I got to get out of this. This is not, I don't really like this, frankly. You figure it out amongst yourselves." But that's how they found out that there was mutual interest. Right. And that's what happened likely with the Fredricks, is that someone within the Fredricks camp, doesn't have to be Uncle Joe. It could have been an AAU coach or somebody, got in touch with somebody who knows somebody at Kentucky, maybe not even directly the assistant coach. And that's how, probably phone calls or whatever were passed back and forth, not likely texts and nothing FOIA-able.
Exactly.
Other than a call was made from this person, but no evidence of what was on the call.
This is why every AD will tell you now, and FOIAs, between people who know what they're doing, FOIAs are worthless because every AD will tell you, call me, see me, just to avoid the FOIA, just FYI. And that's fine. That's fair. That's how I would do it.
And here's my burner number. That's exactly that's the way to do it, right? So right. I wouldn't pursue tampering. I think it's only going to ultimately look bad on you, even if you're right.
Agree. I agree. I 100% agree.
Yep.
Let it go, and that's that.
Yif I'm
Iowa.
But in the future with this, think about it, folks. How if I'm a parent and my child is at a college and they had a good year and they're a good player, but for whatever reason it just wasn't a good fit. Maybe it was the culture of the program, maybe it was distance from home, and you're like, Iowa was really hard on us recruiting, and I wonder if there'd be any place. I'm going to try to reach out to Iowa somehow, some way, and say, hey, Jimmy's interested in coming to your program if you guys have any openings. That's going to happen. And to the letter of the law, is that possible tampering? Maybe, which is probably a dumb law, because let's live in the real world. That's how this is going to go down. And I don't even have a problem with it. I'm all for kids winding up at places where they want to be and not being forced to stay where they don't.
Yes.
That's it.
Not being forced to stay where they don't is the key thing. There should be no mechanism for a school to keep a kid where he doesn't want to be, period. Nope. End of story. Nope. The CJ Fredrick things, it feels, a little slimy, but everything Kentucky and Calipari feels a little slimy.
It does. Coach Cal had that quote a couple of years ago that if we continue down this path that we're heading relative to a free transfer rule, then I'm going to need to be handing out business cards in the handshake line.
Like he wasn't already.
Cal pisses me. I can't stand. He slithers. He is
John,
walk.
We all hate blue bloods.
We do. Especially when you
Michigan.
Yes. When you grow up in chip on your shoulder country like we did, you hate blue bloods.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. I have a soft spot for Ohio State only because they beat the shit out of Michigan.
For me, it's the other way around.
I'm good with Ohio State as long as they're beating the shit out of Michigan. I'm good with Ohio State. I don't count Nebraska as a blue blood anymore.
No.
Neither does Nebraska.
No.
Michigan is the one I hate the most. I don't know why. I can't articulate it, but it is big them and little this. That's kind of where I'm at. So I'm with you. And losing a blue blood and losing a player to a blue blood will always piss off Iowa fan, I think.
Yeah, it will. And I'm curious now. This is a tangent, but you got me going down this road, and I want to hear Marc Morehouse's top 3 levels of Big Ten hate. And you don't even have to say why. You just did Michigan's your number 1. Who are the other 2 that you hate? And it's okay to admit it, Marc. It's okay to admit that for whatever reason you hate these athletic departments or teams or whatever.
Michigan is 2 because of the SID.
Okay, I love that. That's the color I didn't even expect to get.
He's a piece of shit and was totally unhelpful and just an overall asshole who's beloved in the industry, but he's a piece of shit.
Okay, that's good.
So Michigan's 1 and 2 for me. 3 is Michigan State because it's just a scum pit of scum.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you start with that shithole?
It is.
It's the Baylor of the Big Ten.
My number 1 is Nebraska because
I don't hate Nebraska.
I do. I can't stand their AD, and I can't. This is really hypocritical because I've been a self-promoter rather obnoxiously at several times in my career. You're laughing because you know it's true, and I guarantee that you've thought that at some point in time, which is fine.
But it makes me turn my amp down. I was like, oh my God, that guy's saying, hey, look at me. I'm just like, nah, I'll just be over here doing my thing.
Right. Totally get. Maybe I've grown out of it, so I don't like it. And that's what Nebraska, I just love seeing them lose. So I really dislike them. Wisconsin's like a hair gap. And some days it's Wisconsin 1 and Nebraska 2. And I will freely admit.
Talk to me about that one. Talk to me about the Wisconsin hate.
You just want me to say it out loud again. The reason I can't stand Wisconsin is pure envy. It's pure, unadulterated envy. I have Badger envy. And most every time when that football program has had the chance to win something and advance their brand, they've done it. And unfortunately for Iowa, the team I root for, they have done so less often and with less frequency. Couldn't stand Bo Ryan, thought he was an a-hole.
He was.
So it's envy. It's envy for Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's been to places Iowa hasn't more often. It makes total sense. I mean, Wisconsin goes to the Rose Bowl. It's been to a Final Four. It's been to a championship game.
Yeah, I want what they have.
Iowa feels like they live in the same neighborhood, so you want that. Absolutely, I get that.
Yeah,
totally.
Wisconsin has the biggest house on that neighborhood.
Right.
And number 3 is Penn State, because I don't even need to explain.
Yeah.
I would like number 3 to be Illinois again really soon, and maybe Beals will do it. But
Beals might do it.
But I like Brett a lot.
I do too.
I was at one point in time. He was my best. He was one of my go-to people that I talked to way back in the day.
Recruiting wise, yes.
Yeah, and whenever I got my show on the Big Ten Network, he was like, he sent me a note, and he wasn't even at Iowa anymore. So I like Brett, but he's at Illinois. Anyway, that was a tangent. That was a little fun thing.
So those 3, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, that'd be a fun sort of horse latitudes question, even though we alienated.
You're right. I just sucked it from the horse latitudes.
We alienated like 60% of the audience who might not be Iowa fans.
That's got to be a low number. But
if 3 people.
If there's Nebraska people listening to this, they're listening to this for the sole reason that they don't like me and they want to reinforce their dislike. And I just gave them what they wanted, even if they don't admit it.
I think, you know what, the one thing I did and this is going to sound funny, but I think it was called Doug and Daddy show. It's from Kearney. Really, really nice guys, Nebraska guys. And
right.
I get on there and I figured they're going to be frothing crazy Nebraska win, blah, yada, yada. And they're like, yeah, if we win 8 games this year, that's a hell of a year. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was told all you people are crazy. I was told all you people are 12-0 nut jobs. And they're like, no, man, we're 8-4. Shit, you saw us last year. We barely made a bowl or didn't make. I can't remember exactly what it would have been going into 2019. And they were totally cool and got it. So there are some people out there who just like to take in the entire Big Ten.
Right. There are, and I do too.
I do.
Yeah, no, I do too.
But I still hate Michigan.
That's okay. Before we abandon this basketball topic, a couple more things, because I wanted to talk about Iowa's potential starting lineup next year in rotation.
Do it.
But it's still in a bit of a flux. I don't believe Wieskamp is coming back. We've been on the record saying that for a long time.
Right.
And I just don't think so, unless there's some medical thing or what have you. He's getting his degree in 3 years in finance. He's getting married this summer. All the things we've talked about. Good, best of luck to you, Joe. Go live your life and go get paid. Jordan Bohannon has not yet said what he's doing. And in light of CJ Fredrick not being at Iowa next year, not that there wouldn't have been a place for Jordan Bohannon next year, but I think the concern among some people was that if Jordan came back, it might take minutes away from a Joe Toussaint. Well, CJ's not there. I think Iowa needs shooter. I was fine if Jordan came back before. I'm fine now. I want Jordan to do what he wants to do, but I think Rebraca is a starter right out of the chute.
I would agree.
He's your 5. I think that Keegan Murray's a starter. No argument there. I think that Patrick McCaffrey is a starter. And we know that if Connor's healthy, he'll be a starter. That's 4. And then it's going to come down to, probably Toussaint or Tony Perkins, I think. Unless Bohannon's there. Let's just say Bohannon's not there. I think then it'll be Tony Perkins or Toussaint. And my guess is it would probably be Perkins in that situation. But I think Joe Toussaint's minutes, I think Joe's going to average 20 to 23 minutes a game. I think Rebraca is going to be averaging 30 minutes a game. I think Keegan Murray is going to be 30 minutes a game. I don't know what to, we don't know what to expect from Agundale. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, Aaron Eulis is in the mix as well, and then of course Chris Murray too. But
Agundale and Mulvey,
Riley Mulvey, thank you, Riley Mulvey reclassified. We talked about the last episode. It's official now. He signed his letter of intent. He'll get some minutes, and of course, I'm also forgetting Peyton Sanford of Waukee. I think that Mulvey's going to be able to get. Let's say Rebraca averages 30, Mulvey gets 7 to 9, I think, or somewhere in that range. Sanford probably gets in the 7 to 11 range, but they still need to get another body in the transfer portal.
I was going to say if you were going to put in a space saver for two spots out of the portal, I think they kind of need 2 more guys.
Mm-hmm.
What would you hold? What would those spots be? What would you want to see out of those? Just not people wise, but what position? Where do you think they need the most help?
So they've got 8 scholarship players now on the roster, 9 with Rebraca, Sanford's 10, Mulvey is 11. So they got 2 openings. Maybe you'd already done the math. And then if Bohannon comes back, then they only have 1. But let's just say there's 2. I would try to find 2 non-dependent guards. And I think that Bohannon is a dependent guard. I think that CJ was a less dependent guard than Bohannon, but still dependent. When I say dependent, I mean they're dependent on other people like a Luka Garza to be able to free them up and open them up. It wouldn't have been as easy for CJ Fredrick to get open looks next year as it was in the being in Luka Garza's atmosphere and orbit. And
I would say this too about Fredrick, just real quick, and I just want to fit this in. We kind of don't know what he's going to be, right? I mean, he was not. I would not say, and this is going to come off as we didn't want him anyway. It's not that at all.
That's why you're saying it, not me.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't know. I don't know what his upside is. I don't know if we even approached it. Obviously injury wise,
right?
And maybe there's a beef playing time. I don't know, but I don't. I would say he's not a 40. I would say he's a guy who's transferring to Kentucky, and the Kentucky's going to recruit over him 5 seconds after he signs.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
That's how it goes to Kentucky. They're constantly weeding you out. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So I think I would try to get 2 non-dependent guards, 2 guards that can get to the rim off the dribble, and who can hit the 3, and who can defend. Get in line, John. Everybody's looking for guys like that.
I was just going to say, is that all you want?
Just give me.
Why don't you make them 7 feet too? Why not?
Just give me one of those guys. All right, just give me one of those guys. I was stalling about. I was looking at CJ Fredrick's per 40-minute numbers since you brought that up, and it made me think. His per 40-minute numbers, 12.2 points per game this year, and he was hurt a lot, and last year was 14.3. I mean, Keegan Murray's were pushing 18. Maybe you're onto something. Maybe I don't know. Now I'm trying to make myself feel better and salve those wounds a little bit more.
Well, keep saying Keegan's name. That should work.
Yeah, that should work.
Oh, by the way, Kentucky. The one little, what I did field was y'all better be worried about keeping Keegan. How was that? Was that pretty good? No,
that was pretty good. I
can't touch Doctorman's hot damn SEC. I can't.
Hot damn. Yeah, no. And I stopped myself. Nor should anyone attempt to.
Well, Scott's from Southern Iowa, and there is a line of demarcation where there's the people from the north say a boot a little bit. There's a little bit of Buddhism up north, and then down south there's a little bit of Southern accent.
A little y'all.
Mason City Decorah area, big time.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave that to Scott. I think that I think Iowa picks somebody else up. I don't know who.
I think they need to. You think they'll get one?
I think they'll get one. Yeah. I think Fran's primary concern. Well, okay. One of Fran's concerns with the transfer portal is the potentiality to disrupt the culture in the locker room. Fran is big on that, and I think it's paid dividends. I think that Fran also mentioned something last week in his press conference that you say he should never speak of again, and I agree. Is that he said he said last week, he was like, I got one friend of mine in coaching that lost his top 3 scorers. I mean, how do you build a program? How do you build a pro? It's like you're having to build a program like you have a team full of one and doneers, but you don't get the benefit of the star power of the one and doneers. It's almost like every program that's not on the blue blood menu now has to learn how to build a program the way that Kentucky does it or Kansas and the one and doneers do it, except they don't get the benefits that those programs get. It's a bitch.
Which makes college basketball hard to watch.
It does, because you want to have a connection. I still have an emotional connection to Steve Carfino, to Kevin Boyle, to Steve Waite and Steve Craftston and the late Kenny Arnold, Vince Brookins. I still have an emotional connection to these guys where if I met them right now in the street, I would be a little fanboyish, because that's that connection, that nostalgic connection to my youth when I fell in love with something, because I knew every night, Thursday night, we could turn that off or turn that on, and there they were in my house.
Yeah.
We're talking about a generation of people growing up that it's transient. Everything in this world's transient anymore, almost, but it's transient. College basketball is about to become
1 year deal,
more transient than the NBA. There's
no contracts in college.
Yeah, it's not good. I'm not sitting here saying it should. I think kids. I think that one transfer rule and giving the kids power when coaches have all of it, it's only fair.
Absolutely.
But just because something's fair doesn't mean I'm going to like the result of it, and I probably won't. And then when you throw the unknown possibilities of the name, image, and likeness into that same stew, it's going to create more, volatility. The volatility index of college basketball just went through the roof, because of course there's going to be some locker room issues with name, image, and likeness, because everyone's market value isn't going to be equal. So yes, that is going to create jealousies. That's never been like, oh, John, did you think of this? Of course we thought of this. But now you got the free transfer rule, and maybe you transfer because you feel that Jimmy over here just got a deal from Billion Automotive, or he just got endorsed by Barntown Brewing or Fong's Pizza or Heartland Flagpoles and Flags, and you should get that endorsement. But you're going to go down the road because you feel your marketability is better somewhere else. Okay, I'm fine with that too, because that is capitalism, and I'm an entrepreneur. But I don't have to like it in my fandom. Fandom is changing forever.
I'll say this. I think it took you a while, but you got to a really good sort of device that you can use as for column writing, I think. And hear me, I'm not making fun.
No, it's good.
Volatility index. You nailed it, man. That's the name of your next 20 columns about college basketball. Because it is a 1 year deal now. It's a 1 year deal. You have to, as a coach, you have to erase everything you had, all the boards, all the plans, and go, who can we get? Who can we get now? And you know what? Remember that thing about APR?
Mm-hmm.
You have too many transfers. That's got to go out the window. Otherwise, you can't have college basketball.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's a really good point.
I forgot all about that.
Forgot about that. Yeah, does that even still exist?
Well, we'll find out. You know, the rules changed today. I mean, we had a little bit of a rule change today. We'll go over that real quick. But the rules changed today, and I'm not sure. It could be a few months off, I think.
While Mark's looking that up, the APR was basically a system where you had to have an APR rate above a certain point.
June or July, I want to say.
Or you were penalized scholarships, and the APR included graduation rates, and players not play. If a player transfers, obviously they didn't graduate. So it was viewed upon negatively.
Yes.
That was enough time for you.
New rules, football, college football, new rules. Where is it? Chris Vanini, athletic guy. I really like his post. Smart dude. NCAA rules panel now officially approved these changes. Must go for 2 in the second OT. Third OT is the 2-point shootout. It goes into like a 2-point. Everybody's just going for 2 points. You don't go back to the 25. So that would favor a team that's really good at, say, the quarterback sneak. Right. It must go for 2 in the second overtime. Sideline area goes between the 20s. I don't really care about that, but I get it. And for the sidelines get awfully crowded, and so be careful there. Blah blah blah. More emphasis,
especially when Big Ten Network rubberneckers like me were down there back in 2010.
They kicked the writers off. 2 minutes. You can only with 2 minutes left. You can be down there, which is fine. It's the sidelines are too crowded at Kinnick. It's dangerous, in my opinion. More emphasis on taunting, uniform violations, and coaches who leave the sideline. Yeah, that's not. You could say that, but that's not going to happen. And why are we going to have referees judging taunting?
Is that the PJ Fleck rule? Leaving the sidelines?
Fleck, or that poor get him up, get him out, or what would they call him? Get him back guy behind a coach. That poor bastard is now being he's under the eye of the officials. And then the framework to penalize faking injuries, which
Michigan State rule.
Exactly. There you go. I don't sure. It's a lot of stuff that referees are going to have to now kind of quote unquote judge. Is that guy really hurt? No. Oh, I don't want referees thinking about that. I don't want referees judging taunting. Oh, did he wear sequins in that? Did he flip it in the end zone? I don't want referee. You have to give him some solid framework. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of variability and a lot of people pissed off that this was a penalty and this wasn't. And Scott, right. I put this out today, and Scott Doctrine came up with a great example. Akram did a 2-step high step penalty. Amir does a flip into the end zone, no penalty. So you just gotta be consistent. I don't know why they would get in the business of flagging that, but those are our new rules this year for college football.
Yeah,
nothing on taunting that I saw anyway.
A lot of subjectivity, and
right.
we're already asking them to hone in on the subjectivity of the cut block, and they fail at it horribly. It's just it's dumb.
Well, I think it goes to Kirk's rant. What I do agree with 100% with Kirk's rant is don't ask too much out of the officiating. Don't ask them to replay plays in their heads. Don't ask them to be able to have to officiate spatial things and then to officiate taunting. Most of us know it when we see it, but mostly referees would rather not throw that flag and rather get the game going because that's what they're really judged on.
That's right. That's
getting
right.
the game going. So there was some of that today that came out. I think when the rules come out, usually it's February. I'm kind of glad now because there's also that legislation about contact and practice being cut down from 21 to 8.
What do you think of that? From 21 full pad practices to 8 full pad practices in basically fall camp. What do you think of that?
As far as what the game looks like and what the players are asked to do in the game as the game stands now, I don't like it. It's going to lead to a lot of learning on the job when it comes to blocking. Tackling can be, I think, taught without not against somebody. You can go tackle a ring. You're obviously going to use the upper part of your body, but blocking and dealing with another human and trying to move that human out of the way, I think it's where you'll see the most impact.
Especially in a zone blocking scheme system.
And in a lot of this, you're going to hear a lot of pussification of America guy, which, I think I first heard that term, Dan McNeil on The Score like 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to hear some of that. But the one way to think about it, the healthy way to think about it, because the game's changing whether you wanted to or not,
Right.
is that the game is evolving. Things are different. And what the part I agree with here is taking people's heads out of the blender for as much as you possibly can.
For sure. That's the point.
I'm good with that. And that will make football look different. And it will, maybe it'll change the game the stuff I love about the game, blocking, tackling. I love that. I think it's art. But this is the evolution, and no one knows what it's exactly going to look like. But player safety is going to be at the forefront.
I fear, and that's a lowercase f, I fear that it could hurt Iowa significantly, because Iowa's already an iffy proposition in September to begin with, because they're a developmental foundational program. And you take away that many more development opportunities from that program, it's going to make those maybe more September games against MAC teams dicier propositions than before.
And maybe you won't even see MAC teams. If your ninth padded practice is a game, you're probably going to see a healthy dose of FCS on the first week at Kinnick.
What about Indiana and Iowa State back to back?
Well, if these rules aren't in this year, then they have a chance to imprint the game the way the Hawkeyes do when they win. Headlock City. Yeah.
So were this practice rules for next year or this year?
I don't know. I haven't that I haven't read yet. It sounds like it's coming this year and it's coming fast, but I'm not 100% on that. So we'll find out about that.
And it's even compounded worse when you're playing against two very veteran teams.
Yeah, in the first fall. Yeah, I think that the way Iowa plays, the way Iowa takes time off the clock and plods, that comes with a high degree of security in knowing what your offensive line is capable of. And it's going to be hard to read that and with just 8 practice. When you have 21, you got a pretty good profile of what a player is or isn't.
Right.
After 8, I imagine you're going to probably have a lot of questions, and that'll be another adjustment coaches have to make. Instead of having 5 guys that you totally buy into and you've had practicing together, you got to probably have 10 guys that you trust.
Right. I want to remind some of you listening to this, Marc and I are actually writing things at HawkeyePodcast.com. Marc's written a couple of things this week. I had a piece up on Filip Rebraca where I have some highlights and kind of go over his game a little bit. Marc, you had an Iowa football post that you wrote today. It's funny, you started calling these things posts a long time before I did. You have an Iowa football post that you wrote today saying you have to trust the process, never mind that you have zero idea of what it is. What's the gist of that could tease people to go read that sucker?
The fact that Iowa, I didn't want to bug off anybody's content coming out of the scrimmage last weekend, but I did tout Rob's.
Oh, of course, Rob's videos.
Rob's highlight.
That's how I've consumed spring football for 8 years. Is Rob Howe.
Yeah, and I did look at that, and I did see this. I think this is encouraging, and I think this is what I mean by this. They allowed Alex Padilla, they allowed Deuce Hogan to go out and make plays and get people excited about their performances. So I imagine in practice, they're being allowed to do everything the number one QB is doing. So they're not shying away. They can call it a competition, and I thought the messaging was good after the game. Kirk said, "Hey, we feel like Spencer's number one. Basically, you got to knock him out." And I don't know, I don't know what that would look like in practice, but it does feel like everybody's getting the look. Everybody's getting, walking away from practice, feeling like I got a fair look. Absolutely. I got to do what Petrus does. And so everybody's like, okay, I know where I stand. I think that's positive, and I think the fact that goes on, and guys can rise and fall, and so Petrus is feeling the natural pressure of keeping up with those guys in practice. I think that's good and healthy, and I think that's what a quarterback competition is. you're not going to get a lot of detail asking the coach. I mean, Kirk was asked about strengths and weaknesses, and he does his brush by is fantastic. Well, I don't get into that game, is what he always says. And I don't blame him. That's a good way to kind of get to what you're going to say without really answering the question. I'm fine with that. That's how it goes. But I do think there's a natural process in practice, John, that a quarterback can screw up and can fall off a depth chart. Will that happen? I don't know. But it looked like Padilla. I looked at Rob's thing. I looked at Padilla's and Hogan's highlights. Ball placement good. These guys seem athletic, able to run, get out of the pocket fast. I really did like Padilla's ball placement. He really does remind me of David Blau a little bit, the Purdue quarterback from a couple of years ago. So, yeah, I think there is a competition, but you're not going to get a lot of detail on it.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you say that because I, too, spent, right when Rob posted those videos, I was like, yay. Now I get to see some football because I was counting on Rob for that.
We got to pay Rob under the table, I think.
I think so. I mean, just pay him by following his work. And Rob does a great guy. And he's one of my favorite people on the planet. And this is I'm putting an extra large asterisk caveat on what I'm about to say because I saw all this from a side angle through a camera from distance, even though I had it blown up on my 49-inch monitor as big as it would go. And I don't know if every starting offensive lineman, number one, was in there for Padilla that they probably were for Petra's. I think that they might have been. You probably took note of that. I thought Padilla and Petrus were really close from that one practice snapshot that we got to see. And I thought there was considerable gap between those two and Hogan. And that's not to say that Hogan doesn't have skill and ability. He does. He just looked like a guy who was in his first spring out there. I think if I played Padilla, I would have him out of shotgun nearly the entire time because he looked like – it reminded me of Drew Tate. Padilla reminds me of Drew Tate. He
got the ball out fast.
Got the ball out fast. 2.5 seconds.
On time, yep.
Put it where it needed to go in this one snapshot video. I was really impressed with Padilla. Now, I didn't have really anything to compare it to from his past work, and I'm more comparing it to some of the inconsistency that Petrus showed last year without the practices. But I got to say, if something happens to Spencer Petrus, I think Padilla can step in and do a pretty darn good job. I just run the guy out of shotgun a lot. So that's all I'm saying. Just what did you is that going too far from me?
No, I think you're exactly right about Padilla and ball placement and touch. It's been a while since we've seen an Iowa quarterback who is fine in the touch area, and that sounds. Please don't double entendre me into existence.
That's a T-shirt.
But I do believe Stanley touch wasn't a big Stanley thing. Stanley had trouble with touch. I think Petrus last year at times had trouble with touch, and I think it's quite possible that Padilla is as accurate, maybe even more accurate than Petrus. I just in that one snapshot, he kind of leaned on Sam Laporta, which is smart. I like a quarterback who realizes that guy's good. I'm going to throw him the ball. And then he put the ball where he needed to.
Drew Tate leaned on Scott Chandler quite a bit himself.
He was good. And Scott Chandler was, I think he's one of the underrated tight ends. Sure. The guy was fabulous and made a lot of money in the pros. But anyway, I just want people to know where I'm coming from with this. I know, I think the quarterback race now goes into stasis. Well, I guess there's another spring and everybody will see that. But the hardest part of the year is the stupid horse latitudes into August. And then the hardest part of the year for me as a writer was, football's going on and I don't know what's going on. I have no freaking idea what's going on over there. It drove me nuts. So that's part of it, but there is a weeding out. I mean, all sports are all about weeding out all the time. And why would Iowa gift its quarterback position to one kid? Why would they protect that? A few years ago at Big Time Media Days, I asked Kirk, Fans complain often about guys who seem to be gilded, seem to have, I didn't use the term, I don't know if I invented it by then, the union card.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you're out of your mind. If I try to pull that shit, the whole team's going to go, what's this asshole trying to do? And so it was kind of he didn't use that word, but he's going to be like, the team's going to know, and the team's going to call me out on it. And so at quarterback position, I'm as susceptible as anybody when it comes to conspiracy theories at quarterback and things I can't see.
Right.
I just don't buy that there's a gilded and there's like a protection spell around it. They want the quarterback to go out and compete every damn day and prove himself. That's what practice is, and that's where we are right now with all the position races. Tackle, quarterback, I think linebacker was an important one. I think Seth Wallace today talked about he really likes the top 3 guys he has. Mm-hmm. Seth Benson, I think, has been a really terrific player for a long time. I'm glad he's getting a shot. So anyway, that's, there's mystery here with football. Football's sort of a secret sauce thing. I think once college figures out, hey, we can make money off people watching our certain portions of our practice, then we'll see certain portions of practice when they're making money off of it.
I'd pay right now.
Hell yes, I'd pay to watch the weight room shit, John. I would pay to watch Tyrone Tracy ring the bell. What did he do? Well, you saw what he did. I'll pay $10 a month for that.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I was, again, one practice in a spring. It's all about establishing fundamentals. Offensive tackle.
Well, here's the thing. You talked about Rob's camera angle.
Yes.
Brian Ferentz one time made fun out of all of us at something, saying, yeah, I've seen all you guys' camera angles. Can't teach off that tape. Horrible.
True. Yeah, very true. Very
so
true.
It's flat. It's not all 22. Yeah, you know what? I appreciate what Rob had. I watched.
No. It's awesome. It's what we have.
Right.
And but you're right. It's spring football. I'm not going to delve into nuance of offensive line right now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see any posts or anything. I don't know. I think Saturday was. I did see a couple of tweets. Sounded like Saturday was a surprise lineup. I did get a little bit of inside info on
Richmond, Linderbaum.
DeYoung, I think, started at one of them.
I can't recall. You got some insight. I
had some insight. There was the defensive line was pretty depleted. There's a few injuries. There's a few surgeries that are going on. I think that kind of showed up in the line play Saturday.
Yeah, serious surgeries?
No, I don't think. Okay. I think dusting up, but I think the offensive line was really jumbled because of that, and so I wouldn't read too much. And I don't think anybody does, but the one thing I will say about that offensive line, Tim Polisek called these guys tall effers. They are tall.
That's why Padilla looked like a freaking.
That's what reminded me of like
he looked like Junior from Smokey and the Bandit.
It sort of reminded me a little bit of the Kirk's first, the 2002 offensive line. All those guys were 6'5" and above.
Yeah, they were giants.
And I thought, okay, awful young guys. I mean, they started out getting their asses handed to them, and they ended up, being the bullies of the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. But kind of gave me that vibe. But it's his vibe right now with offensive line, I think, and defensive line. I think a lot of people wanted to see Black play. He didn't get out there. I think a lot of people, players are going to rise and fall, and they might be total surprises as far as what we really know how they're doing. Just the fact that we don't get to see them once in a while.
That's it. And
it's not a big deal. It's football. It's secret sauce stuff. Basketball coaches are realtors. Football coaches are generals. They don't want you to know what they're doing until it's showtime.
That's awesome. So there was one last thing for me. There was an interesting quasi development last night. Iowa football offered someone in the transfer portal a scholarship. And this is on my wish list. We talked about basketball wish lists. This is at the tippity top of my football transfer portal wish list. And this is John Ridgway from Illinois State. And this guy he's in the transfer portal. He's got offers from Texas, from Penn State. I mean, he has blown up. And he's from the state of Illinois. He's got an offer from Tennessee, from Arizona. I'm just going through his Twitter here. I mean, he's just blown up out there. I tell you what, Mark, this would be just what the old doctor ordered, because I think he's about 320 pounds.
6'6", 320, defensive tackle.
Are you effing kidding me? Yes.
You want that. You want
Give me that all day. Right here. Main line.
McCaffrey should recruit him.
I saw that, and I went and looked. I'm like, whoa. We got to Iowa needs to get themselves this. If Iowa could pull that makes me feel a lot more optimistic about the 2021 Iowa football season.
He could have a shot. And Iowa, I'll say this, McCaffrey, we talked about McCaffrey and is just how he kind of is, standoffish. I would say it right now is probably the best way to put it, his approach to the portal. Iowa quietly finds the right guy. I've been amazed. And it's through recruiting. It's through
the long-term relationship.
I am not sure if Mackay
Sargent had any sort of. I can't remember if there was a connection other than being from Iowa Western. I think that's kind of what got him on the radar. The running back before him did, I think, right?
I'm blanking, but
I can't remember either.
But was it Akram? Akram?
No. It was another guy that they got a transfer late. It was the year that kid from Alabama that Iowa was a fallback that left, and they picked up some guy in the transfer portal, and that's really going to tick me off. I'm going to pull that up here while
I'm blanking.
Yeah, I can't have you blanking, Mark.
I am. This is bad.
Yeah.
But it's guys with I know who you're talking about. Played for the Raiders. Butler?
Yes. I think that was it.
Anyway, played for the Raiders. Iowa got him from Nevada. I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. Probably would have had 1,000 yards if not for his elbow going the wrong way.
James Butler.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would have gone crazy. Iowa recruited him, had a good relationship with him, got him. Coy Cronk, same way. You can see how these circuits still kind of come together after however dormant they are.
Right.
Cronk was, I think, fit into that. But Iowa finds guys. Van Valkenburg showing up to be a player.
Mm-hmm.
They got him from a Division II school. So I kind of like this second wave of football recruiting in that, one, the players come from anywhere and you have no idea who they are.
Right.
Two, you realize that the coaches probably have seen them and probably believe in a little bit of something that they have. Charlie Jones, another one.
Mm-hmm.
Found him out of nowhere. If he could have played when the year he came in, he probably would have helped him a little bit more, but he fit in well and he'll fit in well next year. But those guys, Iowa is really good at that. It's basically relationships and keep that going. I do expect Iowa to find maybe a wide receiver or maybe a running back. I mean, I think they only have 4 or 5 scholarship running backs right now.
Yeah, running back and defensive tackle. Those were on my list. And
defensive end, a pass rusher would be great too.
That's true. Well, I can always extend my list longer.
Hey, defensive tackles can get pressure.
They can. Well, we saw that last year. I mean, Davion Nixon was as disruptive interior force as Iowa had probably since Jonathan Babineau.
Oh, you nailed it. That's right. That's right.
I tell you,
Babineau's numbers are sick. They're insane.
Babineau's numbers, I think he was second in the nation in tackles for loss, first amongst FBS his senior year, and it was like 24 and a half.
Yeah,
tackles for loss.
It was
crazy. Insane.
It was crazy. Yeah, I think he had an interception in the Wisconsin game, the clincher, the Big Ten. The only time I saw a Big Ten championship trophy in Kinnick Stadium.
Only time it'll ever happen.
Which was really cool.
On the field for that, I bet it was. I was doing a damn radio show, call-in show after, so I couldn't go to that one. But
that was cool.
Man, those lines.
Drew Tate's mom had a really cool fur coat too. She looked good. Funny.
Yeah.
Funny the weird stuff you remember.
Yeah.
I remember a guy bringing the thing to the trophy, the Big Ten crew bringing the trophy down the stairs and
like the hockey guy with the white gloves.
and people behind him were going crazy, taking what pictures there were in 2004. And there were pictures. I mean, there were cell phones, and a lot of them were flip phones. I remember seeing a flip phone one game. One of the times that the fans ran the field, Sean Considine. I remember there's a picture with him, somebody taking a picture of him with a flip phone. So, yeah, memory lane stuff. But anyway.
Yeah, we'll delve into a lot of that in the latitudes.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you wanted to add tonight?
No, I think that we covered everything. I do hope this. I hope CJ Fredrick finds what he's looking for. I hope the uncle just shuts up. I think Iowa fans can live with this now. Live with the departure. You go through the stages of grief and yada, yada, yada. Don't kick up any dust. There doesn't seem to be a need to kick up any dust.
Yeah, don't get punitive. Don't. You already crapped in my yard. You already crapped on my carpet. Don't come over and rub my nose in it. And as long as you don't do that,
that works, actually.
Wish you all the well. And I wish CJ well regardless.
Right.
But a grown man uncle ought to know better. But anyhow, I already called him a liar once today. So
and Hawkeye fans, just that's you'll eat off somebody's plate. You'll eat off somebody's plate and it'll taste good.
The magic of Morehouse coming full circle to end it. I'm John, he's Mark, and we will talk to you the next time.